Twitter sent out. Let's get our bot in here and get the Discord taken care of. All right. So, hello everyone. This is Chris Ingerson, and it is April 23rd, and this is the April 23rd Text Request Devstream. So, today we are going to be doing a couple of things regarding the wizard cutscene in the castle. Um, I have a convention coming up in about 4 weeks, probably would be closer. Not yeah, 4 weeks. Um, and there are some changes I would like to make to the demo areas just to kind of get them polished up a little bit and bring them more in line with a with a level of quality that I'm comfortable with. Now we've already gone through and done a bunch with regards to like our tutorial paintings. You know, we're using our custom keys, so it'll actually show like the E key or the sprint key or sorry the shift key or whatever. Um, but there are a couple of adjustments I would like to make in regards to actual content. I should probably also walk on screen. We're going to be doing designing today. And one of the big things that I would really like to handle is, let's go ahead and save this real quick. I'll just go ahead and actually jump in here. So currently the wizard cutscene is functional. And I say that with a little bit of hesitation in my voice because, well, it actually has a few issues with it, in my opinion. Like, it's fine. There's nothing technically wrong with it. It's just that there is not as much engagement with the cutscene as I would like. And there are some problems in getting people to focus on what I want. Oh, you son of a... Oh. Interesting. What is that? Oh. Oops. Wait, that doesn't make sense. The frick was happening here? What the heck? What? Okay, so that's that, but why did you... Okay, let's go ahead and get rid of that for now. I was unable to move for some reason. Oh, I bet I know what it was. It's because it was the first time I played after relaunching the editor. I always forget about that. Um, ooh, hold on. What? Okay, weird. Um, huh. Alright, I just don't know what happened there. My computer freaked out at trying to play this. Let's try this again. I really don't know why we had that problem. Okay, so yeah, so what happened there, the reason I couldn't move and I could only look around was because of, for some reason, if I play directly in the scene the first time I try that, if game settings hasn't been populated, it just breaks. That's not a bug that the build would ever run into. Keep in mind, that's why it always catches me off guard. Because if you're playing in a build, when the build launches, it initializes all that stuff. But if you play directly in the scene, it doesn't quite properly do it sometimes. All right. Anyway, so as you can see, we have these like nice new fancy like key commands that actually show you the key you're supposed to press. And if we come up here, this is another thing that I would like to adjust. I would like to have the the light probes on these doors actually be more indicative of what they should look like. You can see here that this door is about what I would expect. It's kind of like darkish on some areas, a little bit brighter on others, but this one is just like straight up white all around. And I think that's just because the light probe placement is poor on this door as compared to the store. So we're getting some conflicting lighting information. So you can see this one just looks way lighter. Anyway, that's not what we're going to be focusing on tonight. That's something I would like to get polished up by ASEN. So, so this is the actual cutscene that we're going to be working on today. You know, when you get close, what happens is the wall shows up, magic wall, the wizard forms. I'm happy with that. And then we have the king get turned to stone. You know, things take over. And then the wizard disappears in that explosion. Excuse me. Now that's okay-ish in the sense that it tells you that the king has had something done to him, and uh, you know there is a wizard involved. And then we have this post-scene sort of dialogue that happens where he's taunting the wizard taunts you and says, you know, he is King's Soul, um, and that's all well and good. The player can't really turn around and leave the way they came, so it's not like they can escape necessarily. But there are problems with this approach. One of the main problems is that it's not particularly engaging. In fact, it's not unusual for people to kind of like walk into this giant hall and, you know, justifiably want to look around. So they're kind of walking along the way of this carpet, and they're like, I've had more than a few people do this, where they'll look up and try to read the fresco painting. But the problem is that when they do that, they don't see the wizard or um, the king. They don't see the magic wall show up. Usually, people will eventually turn around, but the problem is that there is the possibility that people will just straight up not be able to tell that a cutscene is going on because they're looking in the wrong direction. So there are problems that I would like to address there. And there are a couple of things that I would like to do to make this more engaging. One would be a very, I don't want to say obvious, but direct approach, which is to give the player a reason to chase after the wizard themselves, which would involve probably the wizard casting a spell on the player at the same time that they take the king's soul. And that would just entail. Yeah, I forgot that I put that up there. That would basically just entail a little bit of extra animation on my part, because I would want to have the player like hold up a hand, and it would show the hand turning to stone a little bit. And that's going to involve some fun vertex color tweaks on the Text Mesh Pro side of things. So that'll definitely keep us busy. That was interesting. But that's probably the best course of action. In all honesty, I've thought up a couple of different scenarios. One of the ways the easiest way to do this to try and get the player context is just to have text at the bottom of the screen say what's going on. But that is that's admitting failure. That's just saying like I can't make a visually coherent cutscene, so I'm just going to tell you what's going on, and that's a bad idea. I feel like that totally defeats the purpose of even having a cutscene take place. Honestly, might as well show a little bit of wall or a little wall of text to show what's happening there. But at the end of the day, the problem with this cutscene is that it's just not super engaging. It's functional, you know. It gets the plot, quote unquote, going in the sense that you do get to see the wizard take the king's soul, but you have no idea that's happening. It's kind of weird. So what I would like to do is I would just like to retool this cutscene to make it a little bit more visually interesting, and a little bit more how to frame, a little bit more engaging, just in general. So one of the things that I would like to do is I would like to have the wizard show up and capture the player and hold them up with magic. Think like a force choke style situation where the wizard would be holding out a non-existent hand and basically lifting you up into the air with magic, and you'd see, you know, the magic kind of swirling around you. and you wouldn't be able to look too far away. Probably what we want to do is like do a Half-Life situation where you could look like this far left, this far right, this far up, this far down. But the reason that it would be like that is because you would be floating around this area as the wizard does his thing. And I'm actually fleshing this out more and more. I didn't storyboard this particular approach before the Devstream tonight, so I'm kind of going to be flying blind. But I think I have an idea of what I would want to do. So we would have the cutscene activate, or well, no, I wouldn't want to do that. Normally, what I would do in a situation like this, I say normally as if I've done a ton, but my approach would probably be to like open this door, and as soon as you open the door, the wizard's already there, and he just like pulls you over. But that is so early on in the game that it would just be jarring. Um, so that's something that I could do later, but not here. Um, so when would be the best point? Because if you do it when you're too close, then it seems weird that you wouldn't just like run up and try to punch him. Um, which actually, hmm, that, hmm, hmm. All right, I think we could make that work actually. Uh, so probably what we'll do is, let's see, we can't have it happen too soon. So probably, I think the trigger currently is basically as soon as you step off of this carpet. So it's like right about here. Probably we would do the same thing, where when you reach these lampposts, it would trigger a yawn, trigger the cutscene to play, and while that's happening, the wizard would basically show up, and relatively quickly, he would cast a magic spell on you to hold you in place. Oh man, this changes the story and everything, and it just makes it a nightmare. Mm-hmm. Thinking. So I'm trying to kind of like think through the logic of this. Um, I should have storyboarded this because I do have an idea of what I want to do here. So probably what we're going to do tonight actually is not going to be editing this scene directly, but rather it will be us making a quick. What's the correct way to say this? Basically, it's going to be us working on bits and pieces that I'm going to use in this final cutscene. Because I don't want to. I don't want to start working on this cutscene directly because I'm basically going to redo it again, like I always do. Because we need to come up with a way to smoothly lerp the camera from the player's position to a camera that I can control more freely. I don't want to try to rotate the character because that'll just get weird, and I would prefer not to have. There's basically a bunch of reasons why I don't want to do it. I don't want to have the player character be the same player character prefab while that cutscene is active. There's just a myriad of reasons. So let's go ahead and do a new cutscene or a new scene. I'm just gonna put this under test. Let's go ahead and do new. We're gonna call this like cutscenes. We'll just call this like wizard timeline tests. All right, and for this, we're gonna go ahead and let's create a plane. Zero it out. Let's go ahead and change our default material to a test material. Okay. And I'm going to delete this main camera. This is going to be really weird and interesting, but we'll see what we can do here. So we're going to need to go to our player prefab. Player. I think I called them this into the scene. So this is our regular player character. And I should be able to just walk around without having to do anything. Although I understand that my walking area is going to be incredibly teeny tiny. I turned on auto walking and almost walked off the edge. Okay. So this is our current test area. You can see that we walked around. Everything's working all right. So let's go ahead and close this. Why are you saying that he doesn't? Or I guess it doesn't. Main camera. Mod audio listener right there. Why are you so mad? Whatever. All right. So that's our player character. Let's go ahead and I'm going to remove this. I'm going to make it a simple box collider. Don't really know why I did that. No real reason. Let's scale this up to 10 by 10 by 10. So it's a little bit bigger, a little harder to look at, but it's okay. All right, and we're going to have, let's put a couple of triggers here. So first things first, let's get setup going here. It's going to be our timelines. Let's go ahead and add a new timeline. I'm going to call this, we'll call this camera lerp. Camera lerp test. Okay, we're going to create a new, oh, I got to remember where it goes from. Playables, there we are. Playable director, we don't want to play on Wake. Let's go ahead. Game time is fine, blah, blah, blah. Let's go ahead and where are my tests? Test, cutscenes. Okay, we're going to go ahead and create a playable asset, which is always where our timeline. All right, and we're going to call this camera lerp test. Okay, put this in here, right there. Let's see, 60 frames, that's what we want, looking good. All right, I am going to go ahead and grab our timeline here. Let's create a track group. I'm going to call this camera. We're going to need to enable this track group, or this camera, so we're going to go ahead and say activation track. On top of that, we're also going to have a Cinemachine track, and I guess that's about where we want. Does that mean I have to make the Cinemachine on the player be a virtual camera? That would probably be the easiest thing. Oof. Okay, well, that's why we have a test scene. Okay, so main camera here is not anything particularly useful, so I'm going to go ahead and create a new camera under here. Create a camera. We'll have its audio listener be on. That's fine. Turn that off because I know you're going to complain. Let's go ahead and real quick, I'm just going to copy these values. So let's copy component. Let's paste component values, mixed 75 near. That's all looking good. Okay. So we have that set up. I'm assuming our camera is in the ground. Yeah. All right. We're going to go ahead and add a Cinemachine brain to this. Okay. So that's what camera we're going to be moving around. So I'm going to call this like cutscene camera, I guess. Okay. We're going to go ahead and turn this off by default. I'm going to come back here. I am going to add a virtual camera to this. This is going to be super weird. I've never done this. So we're going to go to Cinemachine, virtual camera. Okay. So we do want, we're going to have to edit this because I know it's going to complain to hell and back. Oh, no, I don't. Ah, that's so weird. Okay. So let's see here. We are going to want to do 75.1 and 800. and 800. Oops, at 800. No Dutch angle. Do nothing on everything else. We're all good. Okay. So let's go ahead and set that up. And all right, so for our timeline here, we're going to go ahead and add a Cinemachine shot clip. And this one we're going to leave blank. We are going to make this duration, we'll say 2 seconds, and then we're going to go ahead and do another Cinemachine shot clip. And I'm going to drag this all the way here. This one is going to be another one. Let's go ahead and just say Cinemachine, create virtual camera. Put this down here, do nothing, do nothing. 875, keep things roughly the same. So we're going to call this, I suppose this would be cutscene VCam for lack of a better term. We're going to animate it around this. All right, so let's go ahead and move that. Oh, did you staple one to our main key? You did. You did it. Oh, why'd you do that? Why'd you do it? Ah, man. Yeah, that's because it's tagged as the main camera, which we don't want to have happen. So we need to, for the time being, do this, and then we're going to remove this one. And crap, now this is all kinds of worked. Maybe not. I suppose I can select this just to be sure. So let's go ahead and copy that. Assuming it's, I guess not. All right, that's our main camera. Let's go ahead and go to our model. We're on camera cold. Okay, just making sure. And let's see here. So with that out of the way, we don't have to worry about the main camera being tagged anymore. We can just leave the Cinemachine brain. I can't talk. Hello, Garrett. How are you doing today? Welcome back. And coffee would actually be quite nice right now. My brain is having a massive fart. Anyway, we're working on a couple of test approaches for cutscenes today. So we're not going to be working on the actual cutscene itself, but more like the individual bits and pieces that I'm going to use to make the cutscene later. All right, so let's go ahead and we're going to leave that alone. Leave that alone. Let's go back to our timeline, and first up, let's go ahead and turn on our cutscene camera by default. I guess actually what we want to do here is let's go ahead and do this. We're going to say cameras. I'm going to drag both of these under there. Let's go back to here. We're going to make the cameras object just be enabled. We're going to set it to be post playback state is going to be inactive. Excuse me, I had to sneeze. Oof. When I say cutscenes, I pretty much mean any timeline. And in reality, let's see, how many cutscenes do I have right now? I really only have 2 major ones. That would be the wizard showing up in the castle and the wizard showing up in the canyon. Those are the 2 main cutscenes. I do have one other planned for the overworld, and technically every single thing in combat is a cutscene now. But for the most part, in the overworld, the actual like gameplay area of Text Quest, there's not a lot. I tried to take a hands-off approach with that and let the exploration sort of be more interesting than me driving cutscenes all the time. But I definitely have moments that I want to highlight with cutscenes. It's just that they're super complicated cutscenes, or I overcomplicate them and they take me forever to do. So it seems like I have a lot of cutscenes in Text Quest. Okay, anyway, let's go ahead and come back up here. So we have this. Let's just see. We're going to make this be our thing. I don't know about that. Do I want to make... It's all cutscenes. Just the battle. I'm sneezing all the time now. I don't know what's going on. Also, I didn't do a good job of covering it. I got a little bit on my screen. Gross. Okay. Anyway, so I would like to. Well, you know what? That's okay. I'm just gonna position this VCam like way up, way out of the way, and we'll rotate it 90 degrees so it's looking straight at the ground like that. Okay, I'll be right back. I don't usually get allergies actually, but could be. I do have to go blow my nose though, so I'll be right back in like 5 minutes, or not 5 minutes, like 1 minute. So give me a second. Okay, I'm back, and I brought the whole box of Kleenexes with me just in case. Ugh. Yeah, that was weird. All right. Anyway, so what we're gonna do is we're basically just gonna set up a. Do I have a timeline trigger in here already? Nope. I can add one though. So basically, what I'm going to do is we're going to make a basic trigger to activate a timeline, and when we walk into it, it should just take control of the camera off the player's hands and move it to this main camera. And that's all we really want. We just want to have that transition happen and see what it looks like. That should be it. So let's go ahead, and we're going to turn cameras off. Good. It doesn't automatically add the Cinemachine brain. That's good. Okay, we're going to go to timeline. We're going to let that be on. We're going to turn this off. Okay. Hit save. Let's see if you fight me. Good, they don't. And let's go ahead and real quick add timeline. Let's go. Okay. Let's go ahead and create folder triggers. I'm just going to make a timeline trigger. Create C# script. Timeline trigger. And the script is just basically going to have a player tag that it checks against, and then on trigger enter, it will activate a cutscene or activate a timeline. Yes, I get it. Visual Studio 2019 is out. Okay. And a timeline. We're going to say using Unity Engine playables. Okay. Let's go ahead and we're going to make this an SOS mono behavior just because I can. Private void on trigger enter. We're going to come up here. We're going to say serialize field and then tag and then tooltip. Got the hiccups. We're going to say protected because this is definitely going to be something that has to be inherited from. String player tag is equal to player tag for the player object. Yeah. Player layer. Nope, that doesn't make sense. Object, I guess. Okay. And that is pretty much it. I guess actually we'll go ahead and do something like this. So serialize field, tooltip, protected, bool, play once is equal to false. If true, will only trigger the timeline once. Okay. has played is equal to false. Okay, and we're going to say here just if other dot compare tag with player tag. Okay, then we're going to go ahead and say, you know what I totally need is I need a reference to our timeline. Say serialized field, tooltip, protected, playable director. Timeline is equal to null, and we're going to say the playable director to play. Okay. We're going to go ahead and say if we do this, then we're going to say if not has played or not play once, then we're going to say timeline dot play from start, and that's pretty much it. I'm going to say, has played is equal to true. Okay, so we're just going to plug that in, throw that onto a box collider, and then we should be good. So let's go ahead and add a trigger. Add a physics box collider to that, make it a trigger. Go ahead and focus in on this. And we're just going to make this piece super wide, like 50 by 5. That's good enough. I think like 2.5 is going to be what we want here. And that has finished compiling now, so we'll be able to edit this. Oh, compile. I know you can do it, Unity. Come on. Come on. There we go. Okay. Or not. Okay, weird, whatever. Timeline trigger. Player. Play once. Looks like I need to redo that. Let's do that. Let's change that real quick. Tag. File references. Give me a second here. We gotta go back to here. Let's go to final references. Custom property drawer. Need to make this an SOS property drawer, and then we're just gonna say set label, ref label. And we're not gonna do anything with that yet. I'm gonna just kind of play it and see if this works. Let's get this going. All right. So this is where that trigger is. I'm going to move the player character back so far. Let's rotate you 180 degrees. Let's hit save, and let's give this a shot. So in theory, what should happen is those cameras get turned on, and then it tries to lerp to them. I'm a little concerned that it's going to fight on this. It's either going to... it's probably just going to snap to that position, if I'm being honest. Yep, there we go. Wait, what? Oh, that's why. Well, at least we know now that it will snap to it. Which means that I actually want this VCAM to be 9, be at a lower priority. And I guess that means I should probably move this trigger up to here. So let's do that. Because the player snaps to the world origin when they play in a scene without any test spawns. Okay. I think I want to walk this way. Completely the wrong way, didn't I? Cool. Nope. You just straight up didn't do it. Okay. How interesting. Maybe these are set up with this one being too big or too large of a depth. Let's change that depth to 2, I guess. So with the depth of 2, it should take over at the very least. Where are you? Huh. Okay. Weird. All right. Very strange. Um, well, let's do a couple of things. One, let's save this. Nope, I gotta save it. Crap. I was gonna say I wanted to just make a new script first, but then it would force me to save these anyway. So let's see. Is there anything else? Let's go ahead and like, yeah, okay, let's do that too. So we'll go ahead and say serialize field tooltip protected bool debug is equal to false. I don't really need a tooltip for that. Okay, and then we're just going to say if debug.log timeline triggered. Okay. And while that's going on, we have to go back here to text quest scripts because we need to do some timeline scripting there. Let's see here. Scenes, scripts, timeline, tracks, activate torch, screen shake. Let's go ahead and add a player track, I suppose. And this will just be a track that's meant to mess with player related stuff. Oh, okay. Let's create folder player. I'm going to call this. I wanted to call it TQ player track. I don't want to call it player track because that's a little too generic. At least I think so. So let's go for player track TQ underscore. The underscore. The worst of all possible ways of doing scripts. All right. And we're just going to go ahead and do cpl.textquest. Do I have a timeline sub for that? I do. We're going to go ahead and say using Unity engine, editor engine, dot playables, using Unity engine, dot timeline. We want this to be derived from track assets. We are going to, that's pretty much it, actually. Track color, I guess we could do like 1F0, not strings, that's not what I want. 1F, 0F, 0F, that should be fine. We don't need anything else. All right, so before we can even do anything else, we have to go back here. And we are going to go ahead and create folder. Camera. Create playables, playable behavior. I'm just going to call this like enable player camera behavior. Except it compiled right as I was finishing that, so that's great. Okay, so we're going to let that go. And while that's happening, I'm going to go ahead and create another playable asset, and this is going to be called enable player camera clip. Give this a second. Oh man. Okay. Let's open this up. All right. So we're gonna make this a text quest dot time. Can't spell. Text quest dot timeline. Okay. save that. Come back over to here. Text quest timeline. We're going to go ahead and uncomment all of these. Get rid of this. Make this be correct. Okay. So that's that. Here, we're going to go ahead and say track clip type. Yep. Type of. And then enable player camera clip. Okay. And for this, we're going to go ahead and say, so this is our clip. Let's say serialized field, tooltip, private bool, enable is equal to false. If true, the player's camera will be enabled. Well, let's just say sets the enabled status of the player's camera. Okay, whatever. You're weird. I don't know why you want me to make that read only. We're gonna go ahead and come back over to here. We don't really need an on graph start, but I guess we can do that. We're gonna make this public. We're gonna say if application.isPlain is plain. We're gonna go ahead and go private camera player camera is equal to null, and we're just going to say player camera is equal to TQ game manager dot hero dot main camera. Pretty simple there. We don't care. We don't care about on graph stop. We do care about this. We don't care about these two, I don't think. So we can simply say if application.isPlain, then we're say player camera dot enabled is equal to enable. And here we're just going to say behavior dot enable is equal to enable. Okay, so that's pretty straightforward. Let's go ahead and let that go. So now what we're going to do is, oh, that's why it didn't work as expected, because I was doing stupid things. So this needs to go here. We'll let that finish compiling, and then we should be able to add a track for our TQ player track. Assuming it ever compiles. There we go. I'm going to say CPL text quest timeline, TQ player track. We're going to go ahead and right click, and we're just going to say, wow, that is like neon red. That almost hurts to look at. Add enable player camera clip. That's all good. We are going to set enable to be false. And for this, we'll probably do something like that. Let's add another one. I'm just going to shorten this up to here. And we're just going to re-enable it after that. So probably we would do something like this, actually. Okay. Yeah, it sucks. I'm going to have to change this code a little bit, which is going to be not fun. Okay, turn off our preview. Come back to here. Let's try this out again. So expected behavior here is going to be that the cutscene camera snaps to the player's camera position, and then it will lerp back to its default position, as you would expect. Like that. Pretty good. Okay, that's pretty much what I wanted, and then it, yep, should snap back. Cool. So that does pretty much what I wanted to do as far as lerping goes. It's not the full feature set, obviously. We need to actually disable player movement, as well as a bunch of other things. So let's go ahead and say create folder control. We're going to go ahead and say create playables, playable behavior. I'm just going to call this set player control behavior, which I feel like I actually might already have. Player control. Right there. Aha! I thought I already had these, so I don't really need to do that again. So give me a second here. Probably I should also say that we're coding today, because we are totally coding today. Let's see here. Playable behavior, disabled gravity, cache player, blah, blah. Can't control velocity, enable gravity. Okay. So let's go ahead and I'm going to, I guess, delete this. Okay, I'm going to come back to here. Which is going to, of course, unload and reload everything. Come on, Unity. I know you can do it. Alright, let's clear this. Let's clear this. Close these things. Alright, so this is going to be a track clip type. Type of, and then set player control clip. It's working pretty well. Okay. Let's go to this definition. Go to, drag this over. Go to here. And I also am going to want to turn off camera control, I want to say. So let's go ahead and come back here. I need to grab this. Excuse me. I think it's under look object then. If it could compile. There we go. Let's see. Look axis. I could almost swear. Oh, it's probably because this is, yeah, that. Okay. So I have a reference to the can look, which is mouse X and mouse Y. Okay, both of those are doable. Cool. So we're going to go ahead and say disable gravity. So I'm just going to throw the camera stuff into this as well. So we're going to say public bool disable camera is equal to false, and then public bool disable look is equal to false. All right, so yeah, this is a little annoying. Let me give your pause. We're gonna do this. Think about how I want to structure this. I'm reasonably sure that I'm not actually using this anymore. I think I did use this originally when we were first laying out our nope. I think we might be using this actually in the Canyon cutscene, now that I think about it. Which is fine, because we're going to compartmentalize everything by using these bools. So let's see here. I'm going to say private just going to go ahead and say player camera is equal to cached player dot main camera. Okay. And all right. So on behavior play. Okay. So for this, we're going to go ahead and say if I don't want to do this. Disable camera. Disable camera. Then we're going to go ahead and say player camera dot enabled equals false. I don't really know if I want to show these things, like have them restore the status of things at the end. So I guess what we would do here is say public bool reset on top on end. Reset on end. Gross. We're gonna make that true. And all we're gonna do here is say if cache player and well here let's do this the easy way actually. If reset on end and cache player yada yada yada. Same thing on graph stop. We're gonna say if reset on end and this. All right. And we're going to say player.enabled is equal to false. Okay. Else, we're going to go ahead and say, oh, and actually, you know what? In both cases, fine, duplicate code. We're going to go ahead and say cached player. Wish I could spell. Cache player dot I think it's mouse x dot can look is equal to false. Cached player dot mouse y dot can look is equal to false. We're going to say else if disable look. Then we're basically going to do the same thing, but here. Okay. Which I all right. We're gonna come down here. I'm gonna say private void reset player. I'm just gonna move this stuff. Okay. And we're gonna go ahead and just call excuse me, reset player. All right. Copy this. We're gonna put this up here. Just true and true. We're going to change player camera dot enabled to be this, to not disable camera, and then we're going to go ahead and grab this, and we're just going to say that is equal to not disable look. I'm inverting it because disable look implies you want to turn it off if that's true. So, okay, we're going to leave it like that. And then we're going to come back here. And we're just going to say this is going to be equal to true. And look is going to be equal to true. True. Not true, just true. Or I guess not true would be true. Anyway, let's go ahead and I think we can leave it like that. Cool. So let's go back up to here. Copy that. Paste that. I'm going to change my structure a little bit. Serialize field, tooltip. We're going to make this say disable gravity for the player character. Okay. We're going to go ahead and copy this. Boop, 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 not that. Boop, boop. We're going to say disable the player character's camera. disable the player character's ability to look around. And then finally, reset player values when the clip ends. Okay. And all we're going to do here, we're going to change these to be private. That's why we serialized these fields. And then we're going to go ahead and say behavior.disable camera is equal to disable camera. Behavior.disable look is equal to disable look. And behavior.reset on end is equal to reset on end. Okay. Pretty sure that's all we really need to do. Doing anything with that? Okay, good. Let's see. Application.isPlain. Application.isPlain. Making sure that's all being validated. Let's let that compile. All right. So what this should do is basically stop our character from moving and prevent them from being able to look around. Which doesn't seem like that would matter because the camera was already lerping around like we would expect. But the problem was that we hadn't actually disabled the player's ability to move. So in theory, while that camera transition was happening, they could have been like running off to die. In theory. So let's go ahead. We're going to come back here to our timeline. We're going to go ahead and just add we're going to move this player track onto its own thing. We're going to make a track group and call this player. Okay. So I'm going to basically delete these. We're going to go ahead and say add set player control clip, reset on end. We will disable gravity, disable camera, and disable the ability to look around. That is all true. Let's see what this looks like. And then I'm going to have to do a transition from a virtual camera that does not exist, which is interesting to say the least. Yeah, no such luck, I'm afraid. Great. So let me think. How do I want to handle that? I suppose I could cheat and just have a virtual camera be in the scene that I then parent to the player character's camera. That would work, but that would suck a lot. So let's try. I don't want to just have the transition go up, although I guess we can validate that it does. So what should happen now is basically the same thing that happened before. I will walk into the trigger. The camera will smoothly lerp from where it is to the target test position, and then it will snap back to my position. The next step is to get it to transition up and then transition back down to our position. Okay, you can see that, and then it's going to snap, and then I can look around again. And actually, to be sure that's what we want, I'm going to move this camera to here. So we're going to keep an eye on this in the scene view. And I'm going to try to look around while that cutscene is happening. And what should happen is nothing. Like I can't rotate. Yep, looking good. Okay, so that works. Let's go ahead and stop. And I need to blow my nose again real quick. Sorry about that. All right. So, the next thing is the hard thing, which is I need to figure out how to get my virtual camera for the for this camera lerp function, because you can only set cameras that exist in the scene, shockingly enough. So technically, that's actually not true. There is a way for me Oh no, I guess that's track bindings. Never mind. There, in theory, there's a way to set these values, but it sucks. Um, I did it at work once out of curiosity, and it's the most esoteric way of doing it. I actually don't know if I came up with a way to do it without requiring editor tooling, which means that I couldn't do it at runtime. It's a mess. The whole exposed property um, thing is just a giant headache to work with. Anyway, so we're gonna go ahead and I'm going to make a virtual camera below the main camera here. So instead of having it be on the object, I'm going to go ahead and delete this, remove this component. I'm going to create a new camera. So we're going to do this, make this 10 again. We're going to go ahead and duplicate this. I was going to make this be the same level as the main camera. We are going to call this player vcam. Okay. And okay, so all the values are the same. That's correct. So what we want to do here is essentially we want to parent this camera, this virtual camera, to the player's camera as soon as, oh, look at that. You don't go there. As soon as the timeline starts, and then we want to make sure its position is zeroed out, and then we're going to smooth lerp from it and smooth lerp back to it. So let's go ahead and grab this. Ooh, you were jumping around with cameras that were turned on. Whatever. Okay, so I'm going to put this here, and then I'm going to go ahead and put that back, and then we're just going to add another Cinemachine shot clip, and we're going to make this last for 7 seconds. Make this last for, I guess it would just be the 2. All we care about. It's going to alert back to the player vcam, and we're going to set this to be active for that entire time. And then I believe I have, let's see, transform, tween, recorder track, text west, cpl.common, play sound, cutscene. Let's just do a playable track. Yep, that didn't work. Okay, I thought I had a set transform. Set parent transform. Huh. Parent player. Oh, I have a parent player behavior, a parent player clip. So I can parent the player, but not. Okay. Position 2 player. This is more promising. Let's see. Player transformed opposition. Okay. That's not entirely wrong, but that is also not what we want. Okay. All right. So probably I could put this in sleepyowl.common. That'll be fine. So we're going to go back up to here. Tracks. Generic SOS playable track. Let's go ahead and say transform, move transform. We're going to say create folder parent transform. So we're just going to go ahead and say create. Excuse me. Coughing. We're going to create a new playable behavior that I will call parent transform behavior. Create a new playable asset. Parent transform clip. Okay, let's go ahead and open that up. It is opening up, I swear you. I swear to you. All right. So we can get rid of these. And for this, so we're going to have a public transform target is equal to null, and then public transform parent is equal to null. Okay. Get rid of all of these and all of these, and we're just going to say if application.isPlain target dot set parent parent. We'll go ahead and say public bool reposition is equal to false. I'll say true actually. Public bool reorient is equal to false, and public bool resize is equal to false. Go ahead and say true to all of these actually. True. And then we're just going to say if reposition, say target.local position is equal to vector 3.0. If reorient, target.local rotation is equal to quaternion.identity. And then if resize, target.local scale is equal to vector 3.1. Okay, we're going to go ahead and copy these values, put them over here. I'm going to go ahead and make this dot timeline, grab this. We're going to get rid of you, paste that in, paste that, get our spacing going. All right. Then we're going to go ahead and serialize field tooltip. So we're going to say the transform to parent to another transform. And there's no reason to capitalize this. Let's go ahead and say serialize field tooltip is going to be the transform to parent, the target to serialize field tooltip. Just go ahead and do this. I have a GeForce driver. Update ready. Okay. Player parent and player's parent. Yeah, it's a little. Yeah, the alliteration is nice, but a little confusing naming, I think. Anyway, so if true, the target will have its local position zeroed. I believe it's ED, right? Yeah, zeroed out. After being parented. Okay. If true, the target will have its local rotation zeroed out after being parented. And if true, the target will be scaled to match the parent after being parented. Ugh. Terrible, terrible descriptions here. So we're just going to say behavior. Oops. Behavior dot target is equal to. Oh, and I did this wrong anyway. Is equal to, yeah. Okay. Well, let me fix that real quick. So we're going to make these protected. Because I can see me extending these. Protected. And this is going to be an exposed reference transform for obvious reasons. I'm going to go ahead and grab you. Okay. And all we're going to do here is say behavior.target is equal to target.resolve graph.getResolver. Let's go ahead and paste that. This is going to be our behavior dot parent is equal to parent dot get resolver. Yeah, all right. I hate doing the get resolver multiple times because that's technically less efficient. So I exposed property table resolver is equal to this. So if you have a large amount of objects in the timeline that are calling graph.getResolver, they have to be resolved if you're using exposed references. It's good to cache your graph's resolver, and then you can just kind of use that over and over again instead of constantly having to retrieve it. All right, so we're going to go ahead and say behavior.reposition is equal to reposition. Behavior, oh, that is not at all how you spell behavior. Behavior.reorient is equal to reorient, and behavior.resize is equal to resize. Okay, so we're going to come back here. Everything looks good. Cool. So real quick, let's go ahead and go to, oh, where are you? Here somewhere. SOS playable track, I think is what I called it. Yep, right there. Let's go ahead and close this. We're going to say track clip type of parent transform clip. So good. Okay, let's go ahead and let that compile. So we'll let that compile real quick, and then I'm going to we'll go ahead and stretch this out while that's compiling. Let's add a sleepyout.common SOS track asset. Oh man, I can't. Okay, I was gonna say I can't tell if it's white or gray. It's so close. Okay. Come on. Come on. I know you can do it. There we go. Okay, so we're actually gonna move this up to here. We're gonna go ahead and say, oh, you son of a. Are you kidding me? You just don't bother showing up. Okay, cool. Okay. Okay. It's okay. I got you. We're gonna go ahead and manually do this, which is gross. Okay, well that was not what I... What? Hold on. Let's delete this. Maybe I added the wrong one. CVL common. Ah, there it is. That was the problem. Yep, right there. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and parent that and cough. We are going to be parenting. That's our parent. And this is our target. Pretty straightforward. We are going to reposition, reorient, and resize. That's all fine. And then afterwards, I'm going to go ahead and create another one. And we're just going to have this be here. And we are going to reparent it to our cameras here. Because I don't want it to stay below the player character. I want it to go away after that. Let's go ahead and turn this off. Okay. So we should be able to now. Oh, actually, hold on before I forget. Make sure we set these up correctly. Yes. Okay. So that is set up. Good. Okay. So we're going to drag this to be there. Okay. So essentially what should happen is the player, or will trigger the cutscene, the player will not be able to move, not be able to rotate, their camera will be disabled, and then we will lerp from the we will lerp from the player's position to the camera position for our test bed, and then once that's, looks like it's about 3 seconds, yeah, has passed, it'll lerp back down to the player's position again, and then we'll be fine. In addition, before I forget, so in this set player control, which of course I turned off. We need to basically, when we disable the camera, we want to turn off our audio source on it as well, or our audio listener. So I need to say player camera dot. I'm going to go ahead and just assume that audio listener is not going to be a thing. Yeah. Cool. Which means I need to do this. Unless cached player has a reference to its listener. Heyo. There we go. Private, not camera, audio listener. And we're just going to call this player listener, I guess. Listener is equal to null. And it would actually not just extend to audio listener, it would also extend to like our fmod listener and all that. But for now, I'm just going to disable the audio listener because that's the thing I'm most interested in for testing. We're going to go ahead and paste that, say it's there. And then we're going to say, excuse me, we're going to say player listener dot enabled is equal to not disable camera. Okay. And then we're going to go ahead and copy this, and we're going to set this to be equal to true. All right. That should fix the warnings that we were constantly seeing about having two audio listeners enabled and all that. Okay, so that should allow us a much greater degree of control. I don't actually intend to use this in the sense that you would normally see these in first-person games where it like zooms, it like how do you? I'm thinking like old school '90s style, where basically it starts in your view and then it just kind of like flies through the level to show you all that stuff. Then it fades out and then fades back into you. Or even better, if it's early enough in the '90s, flies into the back of your head. Good old-fashioned head flying. All right, so we're gonna turn off that preview. Everything else is good. Let's just go ahead and give this a test. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and I think I'm going the wrong way. Okay, and then right back. Interesting. I think it overshot. That is curious. Let's go ahead and let it play more than once. Okay. Yeah, it is definitely. It's definitely moving too far down. I'm gonna pause this. I want to see where the VCam is. Oh no. Oh. Why are you like that? Okay, timeout. Is my timeline borked? Oh, no, yeah. It was me being stupid. Of course. So we would actually want like that to be the way that's handled. So let's try that again. The problem was I was parenting it as soon as that transition happened, so that's why it was going all the way down, basically. Okay, let's try this again. We lose our camera, we're good, and then right back. Seamless transition. Nice. Cool. So that works. Excuse me. So that is functionally sound, but now we have to get into the minutia of this, which means that so we have a parent transform clip, but now we need to extend this so that instead of well, oh, man, do I just have to like write it from scratch? Hold on, back over here. Not entirely sure how to just straight up redo this. I guess the parent, all that really needs to happen here is the parent needs to be hidden, pretty much, and then we would just have the parent be assumed to be the camera on the player. So, um, it kind of sucks. It might be better for me to just have a catch-all. So I have a parent to player, right? Yeah, parent player behave. No, this is a parent player in the sense that it moves the player to that thing. Position to player is a thing, but that is only partially really what I want. So we're saying, yeah, okay. So I'm gonna go ahead and say like, make a new folder, and I'm gonna call this like parent to player. And this is going to have a couple of possible values. Actually, it literally would have two that I can think of. Either the camera or the player character themselves. Um, I really can't think of anything else. So, excuse me. For this, how are we going to want to do this? Let's go ahead and I'm going to change this up a little bit. We're going to go ahead and say create playables, playable behavior. I'm just going to call this parent to player behavior. Right click, create playables, parent to player clip. Okay, let's open this up. Once it deigns to let me. Okay, whatever. Parent player behavior. All right. So this is going to be under text quest dot timeline. This is going to be using sleepyowl.common.timeline. And then we're going to go ahead and make this derive from parent transform behavior. And I am reasonably sure that I can actually delete just most of this, except for on-graph start. I actually want to leave that alone. I do need that, and for that purpose, we're going to leave that like that. We're going to make this be textquest.timeline. I'm going to say using sleepyowl.common.timeline. Okay. Sneezy time. Yeah. Oh, man. Okay, so for this, we are going to want to copy this real quick. This is going to derive from parent transform clip. We will retain pretty much all of this. Paste this in here, paste this in here, paste this in here. Okay, so for this, we just need to say behavior.target is equal to target.resolve graph.getResolver. And then behavior, we're going to leave an empty line there for now. I'm going to say behavior dot reposition is equal to reposition. Behavior dot reorient is equal to reorient. Behavior dot resize is equal to resize. Okay. And this comment line here is a enum value that we need to generate an enum for first. So let's go ahead and let that compile. Do I have a general like text quest playable? Nope. Playable track. Because that would be nice. I have a combat playable track, but I don't have a general text quest playable track. I should probably create one. Alright. Oof. I gotta reset up some of this stuff. Okay, so we'll let that compile real quick. And I say real quick, but it's not really that quick. I got an air filter for Christmas. Just hooked it up. Hope it helps. An air filter, like a. Oh, interesting. Is it basically just like a fan that sucks in the stuff in your floating around in your air? I guess in your airspace, catches everything for you. All right. So that's not true. Compile and real quick go together in a brand new project, but they don't go together in any other situation. So, all right. So I'm going to go ahead and just create like a general folder. General. I'm going to create C# script. I'm just going to call this text quest playable track. Okay. Let's go ahead and look at that. It's pretty much going to be the same thing as the player track. In fact, we'll probably move the player scripts onto that. So we're going to go ahead and make this a textquest.timeline. We're going to say using Unity engine.timeline. This is going to be a track asset. I'm going to say track clip type of parent to player clip. We'll go ahead and say track color is going to be equal to 1F, 1F, 1F. I like them to be white to match the regular playable track. Okay, so that's pretty straightforward. Let's go ahead and let that compile. And then we're going to go all the way back up to here. And I'm going to go ahead and say C# script. We're just going to call this like player target, for lack of a better term. Oh man, how long does compiling take in Manifold Garden actually? Because I thought it was a long time, like 2 years ago. Okay, so this is going to be in textquest.timeline. It's going to derive from byte. It is an enum. Get rid of this. And we're going to say player is equal to 0, and then camera is equal to 5, I guess. The actual player transform. Transform for the player's camera. We'll say main camera. I don't really have anything else. Oh, you know what? Actually, that's not true. We do hand. Hand is equal to 10. Head? Probably not. Okay. Well, nah. Alright, yeah. Let's do that. Head is equal to 15. So this is going to be transform for the player's dominant hand. feel like I should put quote or quotes around that. All right. Haven't profiled it, probably 15 seconds. That's comparable to mine, I think. Actually, I have profiler code for that in my other project. Oh, so it like spits out how long compilation took. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and jump back to here. Go to definition. We're gonna say serialize field, private, player target. Oh, ironic. Parent target, I guess, is equal to player tooltip. The transform on the player to parent to parent to blah. Target to. That's a little bit better. We're gonna go ahead and copy this over to here. We're gonna paste that, make it public. Okay. And then we're going to go ahead and just say behavior.parentTarget is equal to parent target. Okay. Come down to here. Excuse me. I'm dying. Gross. Created it when I was experimenting with assembly stuff. You mean like assembly definition files, or do you mean like actual assembly files? Because now it's confusing in Unity. All right, so on graph start, we're going to do something different here. We're going to say if application.isPlain, because we always want to wrap our stuff with that. And then I'm going to say switch parent target case player break case camera break case and break case head break. Okay. For that, all we're going to do is say parent is equal to text quest game DQ game manager dot hero reference dot transform. Parent is equal to TQ game manager dot hero reference dot main camera. Oh, sorry. Dot transform. And I don't actually remember. So parent is equal to TQ game manager dot hero reference dot crud. Okay, well for now we're going to ignore those. Assembly definitions, and yes, bad name. Yeah, Unity has a history of doing that. It's like when they renamed their Unity, when they renamed UGUI, which was already short for Unity GUI, to Unity UI, because that won't just mess with people's search results. Or how they called the new multiplayer system just Unity Multiplayer. Because that makes it very easy to Google when you're looking for problems or solutions to problems. I never understand their decisions in that regard. Like I understand it's more simple in that way, but it's also way harder to troubleshoot. Oh yeah, the new UI, which is just, from what I can tell, it's basically going back to OnGUI but with CSS. Which I guess it was already on GUI anyway, because that was what it was. Yeah, I have not messed with the 2019 editor UI stuff. I know I'm going to have to, and I would. It seems like it can do some cool things, but it sucks that it's basically just CSS again. That's real frustrating for me. But what are you gonna do? All right. So let's go ahead and we're just going to go ahead and say add a new sleepy outlet text quest.timeline, text quest playable track, add parent or parent to player. So this probably I should write a custom editor for. Um, in in a way, I can kind of see the logic behind jumping to CSS because it's already a format that's standardized somewhat. Although it sucks because it's a subset of CSS, right? Like it's not actual CSS, which is probably going to cause a bunch of problems. And that makes it more intuitive for non like hardcore engine programmers or like editor tooling programmers to get into. But I feel like those types of people still aren't going to want to make pretty GUIs. Like, well, they'll want to, but they'll try it and then be like, this is terrible, and then they'll stop. Because the only people who actually are insane enough to care about having good looking GUIs for their editor tools are people like me, people who do editor tools all the time, and it's like, I can do better than that. Um, yeah, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see what comes of that system. And like I said, I haven't messed with it, so maybe it's super easy. It could be. It's unlikely, but it could be. All right. Before I forget, let's see here. I got to go to editor, don't I? Oh, Yep. Yep. Cool. It froze too. Okay. So I need to go to editor, which is here because of course it is. Scripts, timeline, create folder, general. Oh man, this is terrible. My timeline is scattered right now. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and. Oh man, I already lost my place. So I'm gonna rename this to player, and then we're gonna say create C# script parent to player editor, clip editor. Parent to player clip editor. Okay. Open that up. Yeah, I remember at Unite last year when they were previewing that UI system. Like I attended the talk because I'm like, I like to make editor tools. Let's see what the new workflow is going to be. And I was just like, oh god, why? Oh god. Um, but I don't know. It's it's like every other new feature that Unity's ever added. It's a question of like, well, why did you do this? And like 90% of people probably will never touch the thing, but the 10% that do can probably do amazing things with it. Anywho, so it's going to be textquest.timeline. We're going to say using Unity Editor. Say custom editor type of parent to player clip. Make this an editor. We're going to say override on inspector GUI. I'm going to do fine here, and we're just going to say private void on enable. Okay. And then we're just going to have to do, let's see here, serialize private serialized property, m target is equal to null. Let's go ahead and just copy this a couple times. I don't need this one actually. Oh, no, I do. I lied. So this is parent target. Target, reposition, orient, and resize. Okay, and target is equal to serialized object, find property, target. Okay. Position is equal to that. Reorient is equal to that. And resize is equal to that. pretty sure that that is correct. We're going to come back here, and I'm going to go ahead and say track clip type of, was it set player control clip? Yep, right there. Parent target, that is correct. And then target, reposition, reorient, resize. Okay. So we're just going to come down here. We're going to say serialized object dot update, serialized object dot apply modified properties. Do that. Come back up here, and we're going to say custom. That's not going to do anything yet. We're going to go ahead and say using sleepyowl.common editor, and we're going to say custom editor utility dot draw script field serialized object. Okay. And then we're going to say editor GUI layout dot property field target, and that's pretty much all we need to do. I'm going to try true there after that one because I'm not entirely sure. Parent target, reposition, reorient, and resize. All right, that should be good. Let's go ahead and let that compile. So now when I look at this, it should show the parent target. Once it gives me the compilation I so justly deserves. I so justly deserve. Here we are. Hooray! So that's all nice. So we can set this to camera. We can set our target to be our player vcam. All this will be true. Let's go ahead and do that real quick. So we'll mute this track. And then I can... that sucks. Okay, so I'm not going to mute this track. I'm going to just disable that, or delete that, I guess. And we should be good. So let's go ahead and do that. Hit save, and let's see what this looks like. So there should be no change in this, in the sense of what it looks like. So it should basically be behave exactly the same in the sense that it's going to, it will smoothly lerp away from me. And then it will smoothly lerp back, and everything should be pretty much the same. Yep. All right. Nice. So that means that we no longer have to have the player be in the scene when we set up our timeline. We can just assume that it will be able to grab it, which is a good thing. Okay. So that takes care of that bit of functionality. Let's see. What other things would I want? There are potentially some text-related things that I would want to do, in the sense that TextMesh Pro would be involved. We could probably write one of those real quick. So let's go ahead and collapse that. Collapse you. I don't think we need you anymore. Excuse me. I'm going to go ahead and let's see, activate torch. So I don't think we really need this anymore. I'm going to go ahead and add a new cpl.textQuest timeline. I'm just going to say our TextQuest playable track. We're just going to drag this down to here and then delete this. Okay. And then let's see here. But the main thing I want to do is I want to come down here and we're going to go to tracks. I'm going to right click, create folder. I'm going to make a track specifically for TextMesh Pro. And when I do that, I'm going to go ahead and say I am going to turn this off for now. Let's disable this. We're going to go ahead and create a new timeline. We're going to call this one TextMesh Pro Test. Let's make a new playable director. Go back here. Create timeline. I'm going to call this TextMesh Pro Test. Okay. Let's drag this into here. TextMesh Pro Test. We're going to go ahead and hit save here. And while I'm down here, I'm going to go ahead and say create 3D object. We're going to make it TextMesh Pro text. All right. And for this, I'm going to go ahead and we'll just call this label. Okay. And I'm going to do an outline version of it so it's a little bit easier to read in here. And let's see, how do we want to handle this? Okay. So let's go ahead and trying to think this through. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and rotate this 180 degrees. We're going to move this over to here. I'm going to create just a big old obelisk to put here. Please tell me I have like a black mat or something. Do I? I do. There are several. Well, they're not from mine, but whatever. They'll work. Okay. So I'm just going to go ahead and create a new blank object to go below all this. We're just going to call this the obelisk, which I feel like I spelled wrong. And now I'm obsessed with it. So. Oh, cool. Spelled it right. Nice. So we're just going to go ahead and parent the cube to that. Give this size. We'll scale it up to be like, I don't know, 10. Oh, wrong thing. 1 cube should be 10 by 5 by 1 is fine. So 2.5 up here. Go ahead and move this. We're just going to move this up to be up front. It should be like position Z of 0.6 should be enough. Let's give this a size of 18, 12. All right, and we're going to position this at 2.5, so it's right up there. Height of 5, width of 10. All right, and we'll give ourselves some padding. So we'll give it a width of 9 and a height of 4. Let's shrink this down to 8. We're going to clear that, and that should be good enough for us, I think. So let's go ahead and start work on our scripts. So I'm going to go ahead and say TextMesh Pro. We're going to create a subfolder that I'm going to call, we're going to call this reveal text. So I'm pretty sure I already have like a set text mesh pro. Really? Set clip. Let's see if I can get away with that. Nope. Okay, what things do I have called clips? Too many. Excuse me. How about TM Pro? Nope, that's going to be worse. I thought I had like set label. Set. That's okay. Nope, okay. Well, we'll just go ahead and actually, before I do that, prior to playable or player particles display text. Here we are. So this takes the string and it shows it on the HUD views. That's all we're doing. So yeah, what we're going to do is a little bit more advanced than that. So let's go ahead and we're going to say reveal text. So create. We're going to do playables, playable behavior. I'm going to call this reveal text mesh pro text behavior. How terrible. Whatever. Create playables, playable asset, reveal text mesh pro text clip. Okay, let that open up. Let them both open up. Alright, this is going to be under the text quest namespace, timeline. Timeline. All right, so for this, we're going to need to say using TM Pro, and for this, we're going to go ahead and say on graph start. I don't care about. I don't believe anyway. So we're going to say public text mesh pro label is equal to null, and public text mesh pro UGUI label is equal to null. This is where things are going to start getting complicated. Oh, right, and this is going to be label. It's going to be. Do these actually derive? They don't. TMP text. That's what I needed. Okay, so I can just shorten this to TMP text. Label is equal to null. That's much easier. Yeah. So now I don't have to choose. I was going to do like a fancy drop-down editor where you'd say whether it's UGUI or standard, but this is far better, honestly. Okay. So with this, we're going to have a couple of things. Public string text is equal to that. And then, oh boy. Then we have complications. So we're going to let this, so we might as well get this going over here. I'm not going to bother formatting that yet. Let's go ahead and say create C# script, reveal type. Okay, let's open that up. Oh, right. You're going to cause problems, aren't you? Using TM Pro. Oh, you're mad. Okay. So this is going to be text quest dot timeline. It's going to derive from byte. It's going to be an enum. Get rid of all of that. All right. So from this, we're going to go ahead and say reveal type is either going to be per character is equal to 0, per word is equal to 5. I think that's all we need, actually. Pretty sure those are our two options, but I needed a way to determine which one we wanted to use. So we're going to go ahead and come up here. We're going to say, before our text, I think we're going to say, serialize, I can't spell, serialize field, tooltip, blah, blah, blah. And then we'll say private reveal type is equal to reveal type per character. Okay. And I'm pretty sure that when we do... so here's where it gets fun. We basically don't want to do on behavior play, excuse me, or on behavior pause. Although I guess we could make use of on behavior pause. But we have to do this in prepare frame, which means that we're going to have to basically like grab the normalized value from where we are when playing the clip, and then determine how many words we want to try to reveal at that point, or how many characters we want to reveal at that point. Ugh, which gets a little messy. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and say, one, I'm going to do this, paste that in there, and two, I need this. Let's go ahead and turn back to here, paste that in here, make it public. We're going to go ahead and set up our behavior real quick. So we're going to say behavior.label is equal to label, which that is also something that needs to be an exposed reference. So we're going to say exposed reference is equal to that. We're not equal to null because he'll complain. And then you're going to say label.resolve graph.getResolver. And then we'll say behavior.type is equal to type. Behavior text is equal to text. So this is going to be the text to show on the label. The method for revealing text. The label to reveal text on. I just realized that on behavior play we are going to have to do something which is going to be if application.isPlain. We're going to say label dot it's max visible characters. Oh, cool, we can do lines. That's interesting. Well, that changes things a little bit. So we can add that per word, per line is equal to 10. Okay. So we're going to have to say switch type case reveal type dot per, let's just do per character first, break case reveal type dot per word, break, and then case dot per line, break. So this we're going to say label dot max visible lines is equal to 0. It's not a float. Label dot max visible words is equal to 0. Label dot max visible characters is equal to 0. Okay. And then we're going to pretty much have to do this exact same switch statement in prepare frame. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this. We'll do this. And in on behavior pause, we'll also do that. Except these numbers will obviously need to change. I don't need these comments on here. Get rid of them. And on graph stop, I don't think we need it all. So pretty much these should be the only functions we actually need. The trick here is going to be float t is equal to, what was it? Playable.get. Hold on. I think I need to come up here and say using sleepyowl.common.get duration? No. I thought I had to get here. Get play state, previous time, get time. Nope. Hold on. Hold on. Playable extensions dot. Is my extensions? No. Sleepyowl.common dot timeline dot playable. Really? Dot playable extensions dot get normalized time. Okay, that's why. It's because I put it in a stupid place. Get normalized time. Totally. Okay, so that's the problem. We're come up to here. Do that. We'll say is equal to playable dot get normalized time. I knew it was in there. I just couldn't remember where I put it. So that basically gets us a normalized value between 0 and 1 that represents how long the clip has been playing for. So what we need to do next is essentially this, which is, I'm going to say serialized field hidden. Oh, not sorry, not hidden. Using sleepyowl.common. We want this to be read only. Read. Okay. Nope. Did I not? What is going on here? Sleepyowl.common. What is happening? Do I? Are you telling me I don't have a read-only attribute? Huh. How about that? Well, okay then. That's infuriating. Well, we might draw that real quick. Huh. I could have sworn that I did. Really? Okay, hold on. Just out of curiosity, what do I have? Let's see, common attributes. Huh. Who'd have thunk it? Alright. Well, cool. Let's go ahead and handle that, I guess. So we'll let all that compile. And then I get to come up to here and make a new attribute. I guess I'll put that under serialization. It kind of belongs there. Not really, but kind of. I could have sworn that I had a read-only. I know we have it at work. I know I made one. I guess I must have just made it there and assumed that I had it at home too. Alright, let's go ahead and create this. Create folder, read-only. So go ahead and create C# script, read-only attribute. And once I get the read-only stuff set up, we'll probably call it a night there. Because it's getting a fair bit late. Alright, so this is going to be under common. We'll go ahead and make this a property attribute. And pretty much it's just going to be public read-only attribute. Not a lot to it. Pretty straightforward. Attribute that makes fields non-interactive. Okay. Go ahead and let that compile. We'll come down here to our editor, attributes, serialization, create folder, read-only. Script, read-only attribute drawer. that up real quick. Okay. Common editor using Unity. Not engine. Using sleepyowl.common. Using Unity editor. Custom property drawer. Type of read-only attribute. This is a property drawer. Specifically, it's an SOS property drawer. That's very important. And then we're going to go ahead and say we're going to say override on GUI override get property height, and this is going to return editor GUI dot get property height property. Okay, I'm pretty sure that's what we want. And then we're going to go ahead and say set label ref label, and then we're going to go ahead and just say bool cached GUI is equal to GUI.enabled. GUI.enabled is equal to false, and then GUI.enabled is equal to cached GUI, and then finally we're going to say custom. Oh, geez, what was this? Cached property. Property drawer cache. There we go. Draw property drawer position and property and label. I guess that's what we want. Yes. Okay, that's interesting. Okay. That should be good. So let's go ahead and come back over to here. We're just gonna comment that serialized field, read only, and then tooltip. We're gonna go ahead and say, why are you mad? Oh yeah. Oh, and speaking of, actually, I want to do this too. System dot attribute usage field allow multiples equal to false. This is a thing that I not recently, I guess I've known about it for several months now. If you're making custom attributes, you can kind of specify how those attributes can be used. So in this case, I'm specifically targeting this attribute to only be valid on fields. But you can set that up for like getters, functions, what have you. It's a pretty nice tool to kind of tamp down a little bit on making sure that your attributes don't get misused for certain sort of usages. Like people don't try to use an attribute for a field on a function. Not that that happens very often, but you know it's good to have. All right, so it's going to be private int reveal count is equal to 0, and this is a little odd because I want that to be automatic. So this is the amount of words slash characters slash words slash lines to reveal by the end. Let's see. Oh, jeez. Oh, jeez. Okay. Let me think. It is probably not. Maybe I shouldn't make that read only. Maybe I should make that something that can be edited at runtime. Blech. I was going to have it just be automatic in the sense that you would type in the text you want to reveal and it would check with the label to see how many lines, how many words, whatever. And then it would basically handle calculating those values for you. But we might be able to still do that by the end of the clip. I don't want to say it like that. Contain correlated to the target text. Ugh. Okay, so we do all of that fun stuff. We're going to go ahead and copy this, make that public. Okay. And then we're just going to say behavior.reveal count. Reveal count is equal to reveal count. Okay. So let's go ahead and let that compile. We'll take a look at the editor for that so that you can see the read-only attribute and also kind of what everything else looks like. Oh, and this should totally be a text area. 3 to 5, I don't know. And of course, I probably should have a TextMesh Pro track that I use. But for now, I can just manually drag it in. It compiled right as I hit enter. Or I guess it technically happens right after I clicked on it. We're going to go ahead and make a playable track, and we'll just do this. And that's what this does. So you can see that it still gives us our tooltip. We just can't interact with this field at all. So that read-only attribute is super useful at work, but that's mostly where I use it. I don't really use it. Obviously, I haven't used it here in my own stuff. All right. So I think we're going to go ahead and call it a night there because it's getting pretty late. I'm going to keep working on this and hopefully get some like a custom track set up for TextMesh Pro specifically that will let us kind of handle TextMesh Pro related interactions and keep them on their own track. So yeah, announcements. I forgot about that. So my local game dev thing is actually tomorrow night, which means that I should be on schedule for Thursday. However, it does mean that I'm not going to get as much done as I would like between now and Thursday, just because I have a thing that's going to eat up all my time tomorrow. But hopefully, I will have the TextMesh Pro stuff at least on a decent path, and then we'll be able to get to working on the actual cutscene in the castle. So, all right. That is pretty much all the announcements I had. So, as always, I want to thank you all very much for watching, and I will see you all next time.